How are you guys doing? Today is Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Monday, May 23rd. And before I preview everything that's going on today, I'm going to take a quick step back and look at where we are in the calendar year. First, starting off with the NBA, there are still 4 teams left, as one of those teams is currently facing elimination at this very moment and very well could be knocked out of the playoffs as early as today. But as of right now, there are still 4 teams left. In the NHL, there are 7 teams left after a team has already been eliminated for the second round, as teams are starting to get themselves ready and get into this next round. And of course, I will give more context to that. Taking a look at what's going on with baseball, we are in the midst of the baseball season. We're in about the second month, as teams are starting to seed themselves out within their own divisions. Not to mention that with the domestic soccer seasons over, there was a relegation game, but we are most definitely preparing for the Champions League final that should be happening this weekend, as not that much is going on around that. With that said, starting off with the NBA, the only NBA playoff game that happened yesterday was Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. The Celtics would host this game, and coming in, the Heat would hold a 2-0 series lead. This would come after the Heat had already won Game 3 in Boston by 6. In Game 4, the Celtics would even the series with a 102-82 win. They would go on to win by 20 points in this matchup, as they would go on to even this series at 2 points, making it a best-of-3 series from here on out. In this matchup, the Celtics would win by 20 after they outscored the Heat by 18 in the first quarter, and then by 6 in the second quarter. They were up by 24 at the half. On the losing end of this matchup, the top seed in the East, Miami Heat, were led in scoring by their shooting guard off the bench, Victor Oladipo, out of Indiana. The former top 5 overall pick would finish with 23 points and 6 assists in 30 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and he would go on to shoot 5 for 8 from the free throw line. And then going back into their starting lineup, their elite starting small forward, Jimmy Butler, finished with 6 points, 7 rebounds as well in 27 minutes, as he shot 3 for 14 from the field. On the winning end, or I guess going back to the Heat, I guess off the bench, their shooting guard Duncan Robinson had 14 points in 2 steals in 23 minutes. And then their starting small forward, Caleb Martin, would finish with, I guess their small forward off the bench, Caleb Martin, finished with 12 points and 6 rebounds. And on the winning end of this matchup, the hometown 2-seed Boston Celtics were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward out of Duke, Jason Tatum. Tatum finished with 31 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 16 from the field, 1 for 7 from 3, and 14 for 16 from the foul line. The Celtics point guard off the bench, Peyton Pritchard, finished with 14 points in 25 minutes. Their starting point guard, Derek White, would finish with 13 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals in 41 minutes. Their starting center, Robert Williams III, finished with 12 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 19 minutes. Their starting shooting guard, Jaylen Brown, finished with 12 points and 7 rebounds in 29 minutes. With this win, the 2-seed Boston Celtics have tied this series at 2. Game 5 will be held in Miami, as it is now a best-of-3 series. Whoever wins 2 of the next 3 games will advance to the NBA Finals to face off against the winner of the Golden State Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks at this moment. But as of right now, it is a very even series, as the Heat having the home court advantage could prove to be the difference. But of course, both teams are very even, and neither team is facing elimination going into Game 5. There for sure is going to be a Game 6. Taking a look at what happened in the NBA last night, taking a look at what's going on today. Today is Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals, as the 4-seed Dallas Mavericks are facing elimination this early. The Warriors could sweep the Mavericks today and then make it so that there's only 3 teams left in the NBA competing for the title. Right now, the Warriors are 1 win away after they beat the Mavericks by 9 in Dallas. down 3-0. The Dallas Mavericks have to win the next 3 games if they want to make it to the next round. I don't think it's happened, but at the same time, it's still very possible. They are not out yet. So that's what's going on with the NBA. Taking a look at what's going on with the Stanley Cup playoffs, looking at the Game 4s that happened yesterday, starting off in Tampa Bay. The defending back-to-back Stanley Cup champs would host the top seed in the Atlantic Division, the Florida Panthers. Coming into this matchup, the Lightning led the series 3-0 after they beat the Panthers at home by 4. And in their last game of the series in Game 4 in Tampa, they would go on to sweep the Panthers, or they were going to beat the Panthers. They would shut them out 2-0 in order to sweep them 4-0 for the series. The first goal of this game would be scored in the third period, as that would be when the difference was made. As the top star in this game will go to Tampa Bay's goalie, Andrei Vasilevsky. He finished with 49 saves on the night, allowing 0 goals, by the way. Second star of the game went to Pat Maroon, Tampa Bay's left winger, as he would go on to finish with a goal for the day. He would finish with the first of 2, and then Sergei Bobrovsky, Florida's goalie, would finish with the third star of the game as he had 24 saves, allowing only 1 goal. The second goal was scored on an empty netter. With this win, the Tampa Bay Lightning have won this series. They are the first team to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals, or at least the Conference Finals round, as they eliminated the team that had the best regular season record. They swept them. With this win, they will get a chance to face off against either the Carolina Hurricanes or the New York Rangers coming out of the Metropolitan Division. Right now, the Carolina Hurricanes lead that series 2-1. With this loss, the Florida Panthers are the 9th team that has been eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs this year after they had an incredible season from beginning to end. And the Lightning's chances for being three-peat champions is still alive. Taking a look at what happened in St. Louis, the St. Louis Blues would go on to host the Central leading Colorado Avalanche. And in the Central Divisional Final, Game 4, or I guess going into this matchup, the Avalanche held a 2-1 series lead after beating the Blues by 3 in St. Louis for Game 3. In Game 4, the Avalanche would end up beating the Blues 6-3 as they are now 1 win away from the Western Conference Finals. In this matchup, the Blues would score the first goal of the game in the first period. The Avalanche would end up taking the lead in the second period off of 4 unanswered goals to go up 4-1. The Blues would score their other 2 to put themselves down 1. The Avalanche would score 2 unanswered goals in the third period in order to run away with this win. The top star of this matchup went to Nazem Kadri, Colorado center. He finished with 3 goals and an assist. Of course, having a hat trick in the playoffs is a very big deal. The second star of the game would end up going to David Perron, the left winger for the St. Louis Blues, as he had 2 goals on the night. Their left winger, Pavel Buchnevich, would finish with a goal and an assist. With this win, the Colorado Avalanche are now 3-1 up, and with one more win, they will go to the Western Conference Finals. The St. Louis Blues are still very much alive. If they win the next 3 games, they should be able to advance to the Western Conference Finals. The winner of this matchup will face off against the winner of the Pacific Divisional Final between the top seed Calgary Flames and the 2 seed Edmonton Oilers, as the Oilers currently lead that series 2-1. But as of right now, following yesterday's matchups, there are 7 teams that are left competing for the Stanley Cup title. Taking a look at what's going on today, we're going to see 4 of them face off. At 7 o'clock on ESPN in Madison Square Garden, the 2 seed in the Metropolitan Division, the New York Rangers, are set to host the number 1 seed Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes lead this series 2-1 after the Rangers were able to pick up Game 3 in New York. This is their chance to even up the series. If the Hurricanes win, then they're 1 win away from making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then taking a look at the second game today, in Edmonton, the Oilers are going to host the Pacific Division regular season champs, the Calgary Flames. Right now, the Flames lead this series 2-1 after the Oilers were able to pick up the Game 3 win at home. A win for the Oilers would even the series up at 2. A win for the Calgary Flames would put them up 3-1 with 1 more win left until they make it to the Western Conference Final. So with that said, that's everything that's going on in the NHL. Taking a look at what's going on in the MLB following yesterday's matchup. Starting off in Pittsburgh, the Pirates went on to host the Colorado Rockies. The Pirates would end up beating the Rockies 2-1, breaking the 1-1 tie in the bottom of the 8th off of an RBI single from Yoshi Tsutsugo. On the losing end of this matchup, the Colorado Rockies would see the start go to Chad Kuhl. Chad Kuhl would allow 1 earned run off of 5 hits in the 4.1 innings pitched. He would strike out a batter and walk 4. The loss for the Rockies would go to their closer, Tyler Kinley. He allowed 1 earned run off of 3 hits, and he would pitch the entire 8th inning. He would strike out a batter, and with this loss, he's 1-1. In the Rockies batting lineup, their only player with a multi-hit game was their designated hitter, Connor Joe. He went 2 for 5. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Pittsburgh Pirates saw the start go to JT Brubaker. Brubaker would allow 1 run off of 5 hits in the 6.2 innings he pitched. He would strike out 4 batters and walk 2. The win would go to the Pirates closer for the day, David Bednar. Bednar would allow no earned runs and only 1 hit as he finished off the 8th inning and pitched the entire 9th. He pitched at 1.1 innings. He would strike out a batter and walk 2. With this win, he's now 1-0. In the Pirates batting lineup, their third baseman, Ke'Bryan Hayes, would go 3 for 3 with an RBI and a run. And then their second baseman, Josh Van Meter, would end up going 2 for 4. With this win, the Pittsburgh Pirates are 17-24. They're tied with the Chicago Cubs, actually, for the third best record in the National League Central. They've won 4 of their last 10 games as they now trail the division-leading Milwaukee Brewers by 8.5 games. With this loss, the Colorado Rockies now hold the worst record in the National League West as they sit at 19-22. They've lost their last 2 games and they've lost 7 of their last 10. They are sitting 9 games behind the division-leading LA Dodgers, who sit on top of the National League. Taking a look at what happened in Cincinnati, the Reds hosted the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs would end up beating the Reds 7-4 as the Cubs would score the first 4 runs of the game in the 4th inning, not even giving the Reds a chance. 3 of those runs in the 4th inning came off of a 3-run home run from Patrick Wisdom. And then after the Reds would bring themselves to within 1, Ian Happ's 3-run home run would give the Cubs their 7 runs for the game, and they would win it 7-4. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Cincinnati Reds saw the loss go to Vladimir Gutierrez, their starting pitcher. Gutierrez allowed 4 earned runs off of 4 hits in 4 innings pitched. He struck out 5 batters and walked 2. With this loss, Gutierrez is 0-6. In the Reds batting lineup, their right fielder Aristides Aquino would end up going 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. He would hit his 2nd and 3rd home runs of the season for the Reds this year. And on the winning end of this matchup, the Chicago Cubs saw the win go to their starting pitcher, Drew Smyly. Drew Smyly would allow 3 earned runs off of 4 hits and 5.2 innings pitched. He struck out 5 batters and walked 2. The save would end up going to the Cubs closer for the day, David Robertson, as he allowed no earned runs in the 9th. He struck out 2 batters as he picked up his 6th save of the year. In the Cubs batting lineup, their left fielder Ian Happ went 2 for 3 with 4 RBIs and 2 runs. With this win, the Chicago Cubs are 17-24. They are tied with the Pittsburgh Pirates for the 3rd best record in the National League Central. They've won their last 2 games and they've won 6 of their last 10. They are sitting 8.5 games behind the division-leading Milwaukee Brewers at this moment. With this loss, the Cincinnati Reds are 12-29. That is the worst record in the National League Central. That is the worst record in all of baseball as well. They are the only team who's won less than 30% of their games this season. They've lost 5 of their last 10, and they now sit 13.5 games behind the division-leading Milwaukee Brewers at this moment. Taking a look at what happened in our nation's capital, in Washington, D.C., the Nationals hosted the LA Dodgers. The Dodgers would end up beating the Nationals 10-1, as in this matchup, the Dodgers would end up scoring all 10 of their runs before the Nationals would even get a chance to score their run within this particular matchup. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Nationals saw the loss go to their starting pitcher, Joan Adon. Adon allowed 6 earned runs off of 7 hits in 4.2 innings. He would strike out 4 batters and walk 4, and with this loss, he's 1-8. In the Nationals batting lineup, their first baseman, Josh Bell, went 2 for 4 with an RBI. On the winning end of this matchup, the LA Dodgers would see the win in this matchup go to their starting pitcher, Tyler Anderson. Anderson would allow no earned runs and only 5 hits in the 8 innings he pitched as he struck out 8 batters. With this win, Tyler Anderson is 5-0. In the Dodgers batting lineup, their elite right fielder, Mookie Betts, went 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. Their elite first baseman and reigning World Series champ, Freddie Freeman, went 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. And then, of course, their second baseman, Gavin Lux, would go 2 for 4 with 3 runs. With this win, the Los Angeles Dodgers are 28-13. That is the best record in the National League West. They've won 8 of their last 10, and they are now holding the best win percentage in the National League. The only team with a better record win percentage-wise is the Yankees, as the Yankees have one more win than the Dodgers. The Dodgers are sitting half a game ahead of the second-place San Diego Padres within their division at this moment. With this loss, the Washington Nationals are now 14-29. That is the worst record in the National League East. The second worst record in all of baseball. Only the Cincinnati Reds have a worse record than the Nats. The Nats have lost 7 of their last 10 games. They are sitting 14.5 games behind the division-leading New York Mets. Their 14.5 games behind the Mets is the biggest deficit within a division out of all 6 divisions this year. Taking a look now at what happened in New York and the Bronx, the Yankees hosted the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles would keep the Yankees from picking up win number 30 yesterday as the Orioles won at 6-4. The Yankees would tie this game up at 4 in the 5th inning, but the Orioles would create that separation with a Ramon Urias solo home run in the 6th. And then another sac fly in the top of the 9th from Chirinos would give them their 6-4 win. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown New York Yankees saw the loss go to their elite starting pitcher, Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole allowed 5 earned runs off of 7 hits in the 8 innings he pitched as he struck out 11. With this loss, he's 4-1. In the Yankees batting lineup, their elite right fielder, Aaron Judge, went 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. Aaron Judge would go on to hit his 16th and 17th home runs of the season yesterday. And on the winning end of this matchup, the Baltimore Orioles would see the win go to their starting pitcher, Jordan Lyles. Lyles would allow 4 runs off of 5 hits in 6.2 innings. He would strike out 8 batters and walk 2. With this win, he's now 3-4. The save would end up going to the Orioles closer, Jorge Lopez. Jorge Lopez would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he walked a batter. This would be his 5th save of the year. In the Orioles batting lineup, their right fielder, Trey Mancini, went 2 for 4. Their third baseman, Ramon Urias, went 3 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs as he hit his 3rd home run of the season. With this win, the Baltimore Orioles are 18-25. That is the worst record in the American League East as they've now won their last 2 games and they've won 4 of their last 10. They are sitting 11.5 games behind the division-leading New York Yankees. With this loss, the New York Yankees are still leading the American League East at 29-13. They still have the best record in the majors win percentage-wise. They've now lost their last 3 games, and they've lost 5 of their last 10. At this moment, they are sitting 4.5 games ahead of the second-place Tampa Bay Rays within their division. And, of course, taking a look at what happened in Atlanta, the defending World Series champs Atlanta Braves hosted the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies would end up beating the Braves 7-3 after scoring the first 7 runs of the game in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th innings. On the losing end of this matchup, the defending World Series champs saw the loss go to their starting pitcher, Tyler Davidson. Tyler Davidson would allow 5 earned runs off of 4 hits in the 2.2 innings he pitched as he struck out 2 and walked 4. With this loss, Davidson is 1-1. In the Braves batting lineup, their left fielder William Contreras went 2 for 4 with a run. Their designated hitter Marcell Ozuna would end up going 2 for 4. And then their third baseman Austin Riley would end up going 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. On the winning end of this matchup, the Philadelphia Phillies saw the win go to their starting pitcher, Zach Wheeler. Wheeler would allow 2 earned runs off of 8 hits in 6.2 innings pitched as he struck out 10. With his win, he's now 3-3. In the Phillies batting lineup, their third baseman, Alec Bohm, went 2 for 4 with a run. Their second baseman, Gene Segura, went 2 for 5 with an RBI, and their catcher, JT Realmuto, went 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. With this win, the Philadelphia Phillies are 20-22. That is the second best record in the National League East as they've now won their last 2 games and they've won 5 of their last 10. The Phillies now sit 8 games behind the division-leading New York Mets. With this loss, the defending World Series champs Atlanta Braves are 19-23. That is the third best record in the National League East as they've now lost their last 2 games and they've lost 6 of their last 10. Sitting 4 games below 500, they are now 9 games behind the division-leading New York Mets in the table. Taking a look at what happened in Minneapolis, the Minnesota Twins hosted the Detroit Tigers. The Twins would end up beating the Tigers 5-4 as the Twins scored the first 4 runs runs of the game. They would see the Tigers tie it up in the top of the 7th off of a Miguel Cabrera RBI single. It would be a Gio Urshela RBI single in the bottom of the 9th, a walk-off to give the Twins their win at the top of the AL Central. On the losing end of this matchup, the Detroit Tigers would be led out by their starting pitcher Elvin Rodriguez for the day. Elvin Rodriguez would allow 4 earned runs off of 4 hits in the 5 innings he pitched. He would strike out 4 batters and walk 3. The loss would end up going to the Tigers closer Andrew Chafin, as he allowed 1 earned run off of 2 hits as he would pitch .1 innings, getting pulled in the 9th inning. With this loss, he's 0-1. In the Tigers batting lineup, their second baseman Jonathan Schoop went 2 for 5 with an RBI and 2 runs. He hit his 4th home run of the season. Their future Hall of Fame designated hitter Miguel Cabrera went 2 for 5 with an RBI. Their elite shortstop Javier Baez would end up going 2 for 5 in this matchup. Their first baseman Spencer Torkelson went 2 for 3 with a run, and then their catcher Eric Haas would go 2 for 4. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Minnesota Twins were led out by Chris Archer. Archer allowed 1 earned run off of 3 hits in the 4 innings he pitched as he struck out 4 and walked 2. The win would go to the Twins closer for the day, Emilio Pagan. Pagan would allow no earned runs and only 1 hit in the last 2 innings of the game. He would strike out 4. With this win, Pagan is 1-1. In the Twins batting lineup, their first baseman Luis Arraez would go 2 for 4 with a run. He was the only player with more than 1 hit. With this win, the Minnesota Twins are 26-16. But of course, going back to them, their right fielder, Max Kepler, went 1 for 3 as he hit a grand slam. His grand slam would end up being his 6th home run of the season as he had 4 RBIs and 2 runs. With this win, the Minnesota Twins are 26-16. That is the best record in the American League Central as they've now won their last 5 games. They are tied with the Boston Red Sox for the longest active winning streak in the American League. They are also tied with the San Diego Padres for the longest active winning streak in the majors, as no one has a longer active winning streak than the Twins right now. The Twins have won 8 of their last 10 games, and they now sit 4.5 games ahead of the second place Chicago White Sox in their division. Right now, they are holding on to the 3rd best record in the American League behind the Yankees out east and the Houston Astros out west. And taking a look at where the Twins fare with this loss, where the Tigers fare. They are now 14-27. They are tied with the Kansas City Royals for the worst record in the AL Central. They've lost 5 of their last 10 games, and they now sit 11.5 games behind the division-leading Twins. Taking a look at what happened in St. Louis, the Cardinals hosted the Toronto Blue Jays, and in this battle of the birds, the Cardinals would win this game in the bottom of the 10th thanks to a walk-off grand slam from their elite infielder Paul Goldschmidt. On the losing end of this matchup, the Blue Jays would see the start go to Jose Barrios. Barrios would allow 3 earned runs off of 7 hits in the 6.1 innings he pitched as he struck out 7. The loss would end up going to the Blue Jays setup relief pitcher David Phelps. Phelps would allow 2 runs as he would pitch .2 innings. He would strike out 2 batters and walk 1 as he would not even make it through the 10th. With this loss, he's 0-1. In the Blue Jays batting lineup, nobody on their team would finish with more than 1 hit. Their designated hitter, George Springer, went 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 8th home run of the season. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown St. Louis Cardinals saw the start go to Miles Mikolas. He allowed 3 earned runs off of 4 hits in the 6.2 innings he pitched as he struck out 5 and walked 2. The win would go to the Cardinals closer, Genesis Cabrera. Genesis Cabrera would end up allowing no earned runs and no hits in the 10th inning as he would walk a batter. With this win, Cabrera is 2-1. In the Cardinals batting lineup, their elite third baseman Nolan Arenado went 3 for 4 with a run. Their elite first baseman Paul Goldschmidt went 1 for 5 with 4 RBIs and a run as he hit his 7th home run of the season. And then the Cardinals right fielder Brendan Donovan would end up going 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run. With this win, the St. Louis Cardinals are 24-18. That is the 2nd best record in the NL Central as they've now won their last 4 games. That is the 2nd longest active winning streak in the National League as the Padres have a 5-game winning streak. The Cardinals have won 7 of their last 10 games. They are now sitting 2 games behind the division-leading Milwaukee Brewers at this moment. With this loss, the Toronto Blue Jays are 22-20. That is the 3rd best record in the American League East. They've now lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 5 of their last 10. They are sitting 7 games behind the division-leading New York Yankees. Taking a look at what happened in Houston, the Astros hosted the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians would end up beating the Astros 6-1. They would score the first 6 runs of this game before the Astros scored their lone run in the 7th. They held the Astros to 4 hits as the Guardians scored 6 runs. So, of course, that's utter domination. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Houston Astros would see the loss go to their starting pitcher, Luis Garcia. Garcia would allow 4 runs off of 5 hits in 5 innings pitched. He would strike out 4 batters and walk 2. With this loss, Garcia is 3-3. In the Astros batting lineup, nobody on their team finished with more than 1 hit. That would be attributed to great pitching from the Guardians. The Astros elite third baseman Alex Bregman went 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run, as his 6th home run of the season was the Astros' lone run of the game. On the winning end of this matchup, the Cleveland Guardians saw the win go to their starting pitcher Triston McKenzie. McKenzie allowed 1 earned run off of 3 hits in the 7 innings he pitched. He struck out 3 batters and walked 1. With this win, he's now 3-3. In the Guardians batting lineup, their elite third baseman Jose Ramirez went 2 for 5 with 4 RBIs and a run. He hit his 10th home run of the season. And then the Guardians catcher in this matchup, Luke Miley, sorry if I butchered the name, will go on to finish with 3. He went 3 for 3 with 3 runs. With this win, the Cleveland Guardians are now 18-20. That is the 3rd best record in the American League Central. They've won 4 of their last 10. They are now sitting 6 games behind the division-leading Minnesota Twins. With this loss, the Houston Astros are 27-16. That is the best record in the American League West, as they've now lost 5 of their last 10. They still hold the 2nd best record in the American League, as only the Yankees have a better record than them. They are sitting 1 game ahead of the 2nd place Los Angeles Angels within their own division, as they are still holding on to the top record in the division. Taking a look at what happened in Phoenix, the Arizona Diamondbacks hosted the Kansas City Royals. The Diamondbacks would end up beating the Royals 9-5 after the Royals held a 5-3 lead in the 2nd inning. The Diamondbacks were tied up in the 3rd off of a ground out from Jake McCarthy. They would eventually take the lead off of a 2-run double from Ketel Marte in the 4th, as it was basically a part of the Arizona Diamondbacks scoring 6 unanswered runs. 6 unanswered runs in order to finish this game with a 9-5 win. On the losing end of this matchup, the Kansas City Royals would see the loss go to their starting pitcher, Zach Greinke. Greinke allowed 7 earned runs off of 5 hits in the 3.2 innings he pitched. He struck out 5 batters and walked 4. In the Royals batting lineup, their elite right fielder Whit Merrifield went 2 for 5 with an RBI and 2 runs. Merrifield hit his 3rd home run of the season. Their shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. went 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run, as he hit his 5th home run of the season. Their designated hitter Carlos Santana would end up going 3 for 5. And on the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Diamondbacks would see the start go to Zach Davies. Zach Davies allowed 5 runs off of 8 hits in the 3.2 innings he pitched. He struck out 2 batters and walked 2. The win would end up going to the Diamondbacks' first relief pitcher, J.B. Wendelken. Wendelken would allow 2 hits, or J.B. Wendelken would allow 2 hits in the 1 inning he pitched. With this win, he's now 1-0. And in the Diamondbacks batting lineup, their second baseman, Ketel Marte, went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. Their left fielder, David Peralta, went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. With this win, the Arizona Diamondbacks are now 22-22. That is the 4th best record in the National League West, as they've won 4 of their last 10. They are now sitting 7.5 games behind the division-leading LA Dodgers. With this loss, the Kansas City Royals are now 14-27. They are tied with the Tigers for the worst record in the AL Central. The Royals have now lost their last 5 games. Their 5-game losing streak is the longest active losing streak in the American League. Their 5-game losing streak is tied with the San Francisco Giants for the longest active losing streak in baseball. They've now lost 7 of their last 10 games. They are now sitting 11.5 games behind the division-leading Minnesota Twins. Taking a look at what happened in Seattle now, the Mariners hosted the Oakland Athletics. The Mariners would end up beating the A's 7-6, as the Mariners actually did not let the A's get a single lead in this game, even though it was relatively close. On the losing end of this matchup, the Oakland Athletics would go on to see the loss go to their starting pitcher, Zach Logue. Zach Logue would allow 7 earned runs off of 6 hits in the 4.2 innings he pitched. He would strike out 6 batters and walk 4. With this loss, he's 2-3. In the Athletics batting lineup, their first baseman, Christian Bethancourt, would end up going 2-for-3 with 2 runs. Their third baseman, Kevin Smith, went 2-for-3 with an RBI and a run. Their left fielder, Tony Kemp, went 2-for-4 with 2 RBIs. And on the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Seattle Mariners saw the win go to their starting pitcher, Marco Gonzalez. Marco Gonzalez would allow 5 earned runs off of 8 hits in the 5.1 innings he pitched as he struck out 3. With this win, he's now 3-4. The save would end up going to the Mariners closer, Paul Sewald, as he allowed no earned runs off of 1 hit in the 9th inning. He would strike out a batter and pick up his second save of the year. In the Mariners batting lineup, their first baseman, Ty France, went 2-for-4 with a run. Their center fielder, Julio Rodriguez, went 2-for-4 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. Rodriguez would go on to hit his 4th home run of the season. Their catcher, Cal Raleigh, would go 2-for-4 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 4th home run of the year. And then their elite third baseman, Eugenio Suarez, would go 1-for-3 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 9th home run of the year. With this win, the Seattle Mariners are now 18-25. That is the 4th best record in the American League West, as they've won 3 of their last 10. They are now sitting 9 games behind the division-leading Houston Astros in the division right now. With this loss, the Oakland Athletics are 17-27. That is the worst record in the American League West, as they've now lost their last 3 games and they've lost 7 of their last 10. Their 3-game losing streak is tied with the New York Yankees for the second longest active losing streak in the American League, behind the Royals. The Athletics have now lost 10 of their they're now sitting 10.5 games behind the division-leading Houston Astros at this moment. And then taking a look at what happened in San Diego, the Padres went on to host the Milwaukee Brewers. The Padres would beat the Brewers 3-2 after the Brewers scored their 2 runs in the top of the second. The Padres would tie this game in the bottom of the 7th off of a Trent Grisham RBI single, and it would be a walk-off RBI single from Jose Azocar in the bottom of the 10th in order to help the Padres run away with this win. On the losing end of this matchup, the Milwaukee Brewers saw the start go to Adrian Hauser. Adrian Hauser would allow 1 earned run off of 3 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He struck out 4 batters and walked 2. The loss would end up going to the Brewers closer, Miguel Sanchez, as Sanchez allowed 1 run off of 1 hit. He would even make it through the 10th. He would walk 2 batters, and with his loss, he's 0-1. In the Brewers batting lineup, their shortstop, Luis Urias, went 2-for-5. Their center fielder, Tyrone Taylor, went 2-for-3 with 2 RBIs. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown San Diego Padres would be led out by Nick Martinez. Martinez would allow 2 earned runs off of 5 hits in the 5 innings he pitched. He would strike out 5 batters and walk 3. The win would end up going to the Padres closer, Luis Garcia, as Garcia allowed no earned runs and only 1 hit in the 10th inning. He would walk a batter, and with his win, he's now 3-2. In the Padres batting lineup, their pinch-hitting designated hitter, Jose Azocar, would end up going 2-for-2 with an RBI, as he would go on to hit the game-winning RBI single. San Diego center fielder Trent Grisham went 2-for-4 with an RBI. With this win, the San Diego Padres are 28-14. That is the 2nd best record in the National League West. They have now won their last 5 games. Their 5-game winning streak is the longest active winning streak in the National League. It is tied with the Boston Red Sox and the Minnesota Twins for the longest active winning streak in baseball right now. The Padres have won 8 of their last 10. They are sitting only half a game behind the NL leading Los Angeles Dodgers, who are sitting at the top of their division. With this loss, or I guess before I get into that, the Padres have the 2nd best record in the National League and their division. With this loss, the Milwaukee Brewers are now 26-16. That is the best record in the National League Central still. They're holding on to the 4th best record in the National League. They've lost their last 2 games. They've lost 4 of their last 10. However, they are still sitting 2 games ahead of the 2nd place St. Louis Cardinals in the Central. Last but not least, jumping out to the Bay Area, the San Francisco Giants hosted the NL East leading New York Mets. The Mets would go on to actually dominate the San Francisco Giants, as within this matchup, the Mets would win it 13-3. After the Giants scored the first 2 runs of the game, the Mets would take the lead in the top of the 3rd off of a 3-run home run from Pete Alonso. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown San Francisco Giants saw the loss go to their starting pitcher, Alex Cobb. Alex Cobb allowed 6 earned runs off of 10 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He would strike out 7 batters, and with his loss, he's 3-2. In the Giants batting lineup, their third baseman, former American League MVP Evan Longoria, went 2 for 4 as he would go on to finish with a run for the day. The Giants' shortstop, Brandon Crawford, went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. On the winning end of this matchup, the New York Mets saw the win go to their starting pitcher, David Peterson. David Peterson would allow 2 earned runs off of 3 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He would strike out 6 batters and walk 1. With this win, he's now 2-0. In the Mets batting lineup, their center fielder, Brandon Nimmo, went 2 for 5 with a run. Their elite first baseman, Pete Alonso, went 3 for 5 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. He hit his 11th home run of the season. Their second baseman, Jeff McNeil, went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 3 runs. Jeff McNeil hit his second home run of the season. Their left fielder, Mark Canha, went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs or with an RBI and 2 runs, as Canha hit his 4th home run of the season. Their third baseman in this matchup, Eduardo Escobar, would end up going 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. Their designated hitter, J.D. Davis, would go 4 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. With this win, the New York Mets are now 29-15. That is currently, I guess looking at where they are, they're holding the best record in the National League East. Win percentage-wise, they're holding on to the 3rd best record in the National League behind the Dodgers and the Padres. The Mets at 29 wins have the most wins in the National League and are tied with the Yankees for the most wins in all of baseball. The Mets have won their last 2 games, and they've won 7 of their last 10. They are now sitting 8 games ahead of the second-place Philadelphia Phillies within their own division. With this loss, the San Francisco Giants are 22-19. That is the 3rd best record in the National League West. They've now lost their last 5 games. That is the longest active losing streak in the National League. They are tied with the Kansas City Royals for the longest active losing streak in baseball. They have now lost 7 of their last 10. They are sitting 6 games behind the division-leading LA Dodgers at this moment in time. So that is what the MLB is looking like following yesterday's matchups and taking a look at what's going on today. It looks first of all, I'm going to start off by saying today is Tuesday, and there are going to be no doubleheaders today. At 6:35 in PNC Park, the Pittsburgh Pirates are set to host the Colorado Rockies, who are sitting at the bottom of the NL West. At 6:40, the Cincinnati Reds, who hold the worst record in the MLB, are set to host the Chicago Cubs. At the same time, at 6:40, the Tampa Bay Rays are set to host the Miami Marlins in Tropicana Field, as Shane McClanahan is going to get the start for the Rays and Pablo Lopez is going to get the start for the Marlins. McClanahan enters this matchup at home, holding a 3-2 record and a 2.33 ERA. Pablo Lopez is going to go to Tampa Bay, holding a 4-1 record and a 1.57 ERA. At 7:05, the New York Yankees, who hold the best record in baseball, are set to host the Baltimore Orioles today in Yankee Stadium. At 7:05 at the same time, John Gray and the Washington Nationals are set to host the LA Dodgers, as they're going to be led out by their elite starting pitcher, Walker Buehler. Buehler enters his matchup with a 5-1 record, holding a 2.89 ERA. At 7:20 in Truist Park, Max Fried and the defending World Series champs Atlanta Braves are set to host the Philadelphia Phillies. Max Fried enters his matchup with a 4-2 record, holding a 3.31 ERA. At 7:40, the Minnesota Twins, sitting at the top of the AL Central, are set to host the Detroit Tigers, as the Twins are holding on to a 5-game winning streak at the moment. At 7:45, the St. Louis Cardinals are set to host the Toronto Blue Jays, as Kevin Gausman is going to make a start for the Blue Jays. Gausman enters his matchup in St. Louis holding a 3-3 record and a 2.52 ERA. At 8:10 in Guaranteed Rate Field in Chicago, Dylan Cease and the White Sox are set to host the Boston Red Sox, who are on a 5-game winning streak. Dylan Cease enters his matchup with a 4-1 record holding a 3.09 ERA. At 8:10, the AL West leaders Houston Astros are set to host the Cleveland Guardians, as Framber Valdez is going to make a start for the Astros. Valdez enters his matchup with a 3-2 record, holding a 2.68 ERA. At 9:38 in Angel Stadium, Noah Syndergaard and the Los Angeles Angels are set to host Dane Dunning and the Texas Rangers. At 9:40 in Chase Field, the Arizona Diamondbacks are set to host the Kansas City Royals in this interleague matchup. At 9:40 on TBS in Petco Park, The San Diego Padres, led by their elite starting pitcher Blake Snell, are set to host the Milwaukee Brewers, led out by the reigning National League Cy Young winner Corbin Burnes. Burnes enters his matchup with a 1-2 record, holding a 2.26 ERA. Blake Snell enters his matchup with an 0-1 record, holding a 7.36 ERA. At 9:40 in T-Mobile Park, the Seattle Mariners are set to host the Oakland Athletics as they're sitting at the bottom of their division. Last but not least, at 9:45 in San Francisco, the Giants, led by Logan Webb, are set to host Chris Bassitt and the New York Mets. Bassitt is going to enter this matchup with a 4-2 record, holding a 2.77 ERA. But that is what the MLB is looking like. And taking a quick look at what happened in the world of soccer as we quickly glance at it for one quick second. The big game from yesterday was the German relegation second leg, as Hertha Berlin would score 2 goals in the second leg in order to re-relegate Hamburg to the Bundesliga 2, as Hertha Berlin has fought their way to stay within the Bundesliga. That's the big game there. And there's not much going on today, as today is really going to be the Dutch relegation playoffs. And then as we kind of advance through the week, the next big game to look forward to will be on Saturday, as that will be when the Champions League final is. But of course, until we get there, I want to thank everyone for listening to all 41 minutes of this piece. I want to thank the ESPN, NHL, MLB, and FIFA sites for giving me all the facts and figures that I needed. And of course, I do want to thank everyone for listening. I do apologize for the names I butchered. I eventually plan on getting better with those. But with that said, with everything done today, once all of today's matchups and exhibitions are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Wednesday, May 24th. On Wednesday, May 25th, I'm sorry. So until then, I want to thank everyone for listening to this piece. I hope all is well, and I will catch you with more tomorrow. Peace out.